All right. So in today's episode, I want to talk to you about de-risking offers so that you can make more digital sales. Um, I want to start off by saying that many people do not buy because of risk, right? And we do it. We just do it subconsciously. We think, well, hey, you know what? If I separate with this money right now for something, what is the likelihood that I'm going to be fully satisfied with this purchase? Like, am I going to have any remorse? And you're also thinking, well, if I do have remorse, how can I sort of undo this? So when you think about I don't want to say the olden days because that'll date me, but when you think about years ago, like 10 years ago, I remember purchasing things from Walmart. And I remember buying something, opening it, looking at it. And then I remember having to think about some crazy excuse as to why I would be returning it. And I know many of you have experienced this, right? Like imagine buying, like, let's say a set of pens, you open it and you take it back and you have to think like, oh my gosh, like they're going to ask me, why am I bringing it back? And there's going to be a chance or there's going to be, a they may not take it back, right? They may say, hey, you know what? Like, no, you're not able to take it back because there's nothing wrong with it. But the reality is that was then, this is now. Now, I mean, I remember going to the grocery store and I remember somebody bringing back milk. Right? So you can take back anything now. And that's one of the biggest reasons why sales and consumers' behavior has changed over the years. So over the years, things have changed because, again, things have been de-risked. Now, I've been encouraging a lot of people to create digital products, and in the digital product space you have a lot of advantages. One of the big advantages is that you don't have a lot of overhead in terms of like things you have to spend money on in order to transact, right? Again, if you're selling a physical product, you technically have to manufacture the physical product and then you have to ship the physical product. There's just certain things that you just have to worry about, right? Within the digital space, you can technically sell someone a product and they should have the ability to ensure that there is no risk in consuming that product. All right. So when you're making a product, if someone feels at ease, upon buying the product, then the likelihood of them buying skyrockets. All right. So let's talk about a couple different ways to de-risk products, right? So one of the first big ways to de-risk a purchase or an offer for someone is to provide a money back guarantee. This is someone spends $100 with you, you give them a certain period of time to get their money back in the event that they're not happy with their purchase. Now, when someone goes to buy a thing, they're buying, think about this, they're buying because of your ability to increase their energy level, right? At that moment. So they saw an ad, they watched a webinar, they saw something, and because of what you communicated at that moment, it struck a chord and their energy level increased to a point where they were willing to separate with their money in order to get that thing or to solve that problem or to get that convenience, right? But if you provide them with a money back guarantee, that de-risks the purchase so that they don't have to feel as though they may have remorse later on. That's one way of de-risking a purchase or an offer. Another way is to do it is to receive a deposit and give them access, sort of like giving like a trial period, right? One of the reasons in the digital product space, the reason why I normally have, myself, and I normally have my clients do like the $1 thing or the $2 thing or the $5 thing, especially if you're purchasing something over, $50, $100, is because there are some tools that enable you to pre-authorize payments later on. So if someone pays me $1 now, their card information is stored, and then the rest, they have a period of time before the rest of it comes out. So what that does is the risk right now for someone, if they want to purchase, let's say a $100 course, the risk right now is they're losing $1, right? Let's say they have 14 days to let me know if they want to keep access to the program. The big thing is to ensure that what they're buying is valuable. And the other big thing is to ensure that what they're getting on the other side of just them consuming consuming content is worth it even past the 2 weeks, right? So if somebody purchases a product and they have lifetime access to the product, and they have lifetime access to a group, and they have lifetime access to a community of people who are sharing their testimonies and additional updates to the program or whatever it is that you're selling, that's the benefit in them not canceling their payment, So again, first 2 ways: money back guarantee. You pay everything up front, and you have the ability to ask for a refund. The other way is to make a deposit. A third way, when it comes to the method of payments, is to spread out the payment. So if it's $100 purchase, you can say, hey, you know what? Pay me $40 for the next $40 every 2 weeks for the next 2 months, right? So what that does is, again, the risk is not the $100 or the $200 or whatever it is. The risk is that first payment. Okay. So you can spread that out a little bit. The other big thing when it comes to de-risking offers is to validate your deliverables as much as possible, right? So when someone buys, you have to make sure that you are validating and you're doing what you can to show that your aim is to over deliver on everything that you're providing them. Okay. So the big challenge when people make purchases is if they don't feel like they're getting everything that they thought they would, then they're gonna see it as a risk before and after they make the purchase. Okay. So you have to think about that as well. Make sure that because of the fact that there's risk on both ends, right? There's risk on the side of the producer, and then there's also risk on the side of the person who's consuming. The risk on the side of the producer is that there really isn't anything stopping these people from calling their banks and saying, hey, I didn't get what I was promised, right? You now have a chargeback, and you have to prove that you actually delivered something. No producer wants to have to deal with that. No digital product entrepreneur, anybody wants to have to deal with that. So you have to take that into consideration as well. Their ability to de-risk on their own can cause additional work for you. So you just have to make sure that, like, let's say in the event that someone is charged $100, don't withdraw all of that and spend it immediately. Right. If you're an entrepreneur, you should not be putting yourself in positions where you're sort of paycheck to paycheck. Anyways, you need to have a reserve where a certain amount of revenue is generated, and that revenue cannot be touched, primarily because there is a possibility that a percentage of them may want their money back. All right. So make sure not to spend too quickly. Overall point of this particular episode is that if you de-risk your offers as much as possible, it reduces the amount of friction that people have in making the decision to buy. Again, primarily because they're buying because their energy level increased, but then they're going to try to rationalize it with logic. Make sure that risk, or you minimizing that risk, is part of the logic that they go through to decide to make the purchase. All right. If you have any questions, hit me up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And also join the Reach and Revenue group on Facebook, where we're having additional discussions around increasing your reach and your revenue. All right. Take care.